teach them the value of the long game.
Mm.
You have to. So it's like a lot of people, they're selling, I'm not gonna say selling their souls, but selling their career short for short-term success, short-term praise, short-term adulation, short-term money. And what I really preach and what I really want people to know is you become great at something, really great at something, it's going to work out. But become great first, become great first. And it's going to be tough to get that message across when people are, now you got some kids literally getting paid like $500,000 on NIL deals. And literally like that's happening. And it's not something that's happening often, but it's happening enough for kids who want that to see that and
You
try
are
to go there.
listening to the Bridging Impact Podcast, transforming leaders on and off the court with host Coach Furtado. Without further ado, let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Bridging Impact Podcast. Today, I have a great guest here. Our guest, Matt Jackson, played high school basketball at Price High School. He also played collegiately at Humboldt State University, Go Jacks, and Skyline College. He's coached at Pacific Palisades and Paul Revere Middle School and winning a city championship at Pacific Palisades. He's the founder of the youth basketball program Pacific Hoops and also the founder of Basketball and a Dream Foundation that we will dive into more later on. He really wants to become a mentor and provide opportunities for kids today to help them get to where he is today as well. So welcome to the show, Matt. Excited to have our conversation.
Thanks for having me, Justin. Appreciate you doing the homework. That's one of the best introductions, most well-researched introductions. And yeah, a lot of respect for what you do in the community and you being a coach, a mentor, and yeah, so anytime.
Of course. So let's dive right into there. Like the first question we always like to ask is what kind of impact did the game of basketball have on your life?
That's really hard to quantify. Majority of the life lessons I've had have been learned pretty much on the court. Even stuff off the court. The lessons I learned on the court kind of helped me put things in context off the court. And so people ask, like, what does basketball mean to me and the impact it had on me? I'm under the absolute belief that basketball pretty much saved my life. That's just what I believe. Like, I don't have so much passion and respect for the game and everything it's taught me. It's just this game means everything to me.
I love that. And what do you think one lesson that you learned from the game of basketball has helped you apply that into off the court?
Just overcoming adversity. You go through so much on the court, and my journey is a pretty unique one because I've experienced everything basketball has to offer. I've been the best player. I've been a bench player. I've been the guy who's a rotation player, a role player. I've experienced everything that there's experience in terms of adversity on the basketball court. And it's when things happen off the court, I kind of keep those lessons in mind, that resiliency, that just pushing forward, staying optimistic, knowing that things will turn around. That's probably the biggest, off-court impact that basketball had on me.
Right. Yeah, I have a similar experience. I didn't play to the same level of basketball as you, but I've been cut. I've been one of the best players on the team. I've been a bench player and like really only coming up when we're up 20 or down 20 in the last couple of minutes.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, a rotation player who comes in, knocks down threes and is, just kind of that role player, so to speak. And so I feel like, the game of basketball has so much to teach us. And I know that you're so passionate about teaching that and giving that back to the kids. And, with that being said, when you are now working with a group of athletes, how do you help them, kind of navigate and manage that adversity? Because I know a lot of times, especially athletes now, they want to score 20 points a game. And I think sometimes, like for us in coaching now, it's like getting them to understand being that role player or being someone who may not be the star.
That's tricky because now we live in a day and age where it's about going viral. It's about putting together highlights and being really popular and scoring and shooting and perimeter, all that stuff is more popular now than ever. So getting someone to buy in, being a star in their own role is a little tougher to do. But I think the biggest trick to that is once they understand that you're in their corner and you have their best intentions in mind and in heart, you can get them to buy in to other things besides scoring the ball. You can get them to buy in and taking charge. You get them to buy in to making the extra pass. You can get them to buy in communicating in the value of help
Right.
defense. Oh, go ahead. Oh, my fault. It kind of froze up a little bit, but that's what I would think. And for me, it's rewarding players and having excitement and optimism towards those things.
Right. That's a great thing to think about is about, kind of that positive reinforcement. And I think you bring up another great point, right? They have to know that you really care about them, right? Because, it could be easy to be like, you go over here, you're going to help me win if you do this, this, and this. And right. And we don't get the opportunity to get to know them as people, right? And I think that's something that great coaches do. And so, kind of with that, can you talk about how, what some of the great coaches that you had and what you learned from them when you were a player?
I played for the great coach Michael Lynch in high school, who just is in the CIF Hall of Fame. He's been very impactful. My AAU club coach, Coach Kevin, Coach Isaac Gordon, my Humboldt State coach told me when I was at Humboldt, which I took offense to, that I was going to be a high school coach. And I was, at that time, I'm like, man, my friends are, lining up for the NBA. My cousin's really good at basketball. I took offense to that. And then also my JUCO Skyline coach, Coach P, all of them have taught me something that's been invaluable. All of them, coaches kind of have a way of seeing you before you see yourself. And every last one of them saw me before I even really knew who I really was on and off the court. And their words of encouragement, their tough love, their timely messages, all that meant everything to me. When you have someone, especially as a kid, believe in you and instill positive thoughts, positive reinforcements in your head and all that stuff, it goes a long way. And it's a lot of times the way it works out is you don't really appreciate it until after you're done playing. And then life comes at you. You got to start paying bills. You got to start being more responsible. Then everything they instilled in you, you really got to put it to test. And they prepared me for life. They prepared me for a lot of things. And I'm always grateful. And I have a great relationship with all my coaches still. Except,
Yeah,
the Humboldt State coach has passed away. But yeah.
and I think that's really important to have a multitude of coaches that have made an impact on your life and have, kind of shaped you right in different ways. I think sometimes as, coaches, we can think, oh, I'm gonna, make this player, right? It's like really a culmination of a lot of great coaches that helps make a great young person, right? Whether they play collegiate, professional, or end up, kind of going into the working world and paying bills like the rest of us. And so just talking about those invaluable lessons and continuing to pour and believe in you, is that one of the reasons that inspired you to become a high school basketball coach like the Humboldt State coach told you?
I kind of fell into coaching. I was, trying to do the overseas thing and go pro. And I was at a point in my life where I didn't really know what I wanted to do outside of basketball. I just wanted to play basketball. And so I was working Civic Center permits. And I happened to get to work early. And I had a conversation with someone that was over at Revere Middle School. And he goes, "You sound like you know a lot about this game and you're passionate about it. How would you like to coach my middle school team?" And I'm like, I was like 23 at the time.
Yeah.
So it was like, when he said that, it was kind of shocking. And then I remember going home, I was talking to my girlfriend, I talked to my mom, and I'm like, well, seems like a good opportunity, Matt. You should just do it. So I just did it. And I had a lot of apprehension about doing it because I know as much as I love my coaches, I never wanted to be a coach. Like I never wanted to be that guy that was, hey
Yeah.
kids, get off my line. I never wanted to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
that. So when I when I started coaching at Revere, the experience was so great in terms of the parent support, the kids I coached, the success I had as a coach. Like I had immediate success. Like my first season, we went undefeated all the way into the championship game. And everyone, Matt, you're doing a great job. And my playing career wasn't going as I would like it to go at that point in time. And I figured, I said, maybe this is what I should be doing. So after coaching there for 3 years, the Palisades head varsity coach came down and saw some of the stuff I was doing and said, I want you on board over here. So then I transitioned from Revere to Palisades, and the rest is kind of in coaching history for me. So since then, it's been about what? I said I was 23 when I started. So it's been about 13 years of coaching since.
That's awesome. Yeah, so you're
Yeah.
kind of stumbling through, and another person saw the potential in you. Hey, Matt, I think it seems like you care about the game, you care about kids, and you're knowledgeable, right? Here's this opportunity, and then it sounds like one thing led to the next, and I think that's really important to just kind of recognize and look back into the journey and see how much you've grown, and as a coach, right? 13 years later. For the newer coaches that are listening to this podcast, what advice would you give to your first year coach self?
So early on when I was a coach, I was emulating other coaches, and I wasn't really embracing, kind of like how, like as a basketball player, you kind of emulate. Sometimes you emulate other players. You don't
Right.
really embrace yourself. So my
Right.
first, I would say probably 7 years as a coach, I was just emulating things that I liked or some certain things that I picked up from other coaches instead of like really embracing who I was and finding my own style. So what I would tell people that's starting to coach is really do your work on yourself and find out who you are, because people could kind of see when you're imitating versus being you. They can kind of sense that. Luckily for me, I was really young, so when I started, so that was people kind of helped me grow along, and it was always mainly positive. But I had a talk with Devin, my boy Devin Williams, and he pretty much pulled my card. This is like right before the pandemic, right during the pandemic time. He's like, Matt, you have a way with people, but you're kind of a con artist. He told me that. Literally told me that, and he told me that because he knew me, and he understood that I wasn't doing the work I needed to do on myself and growing who I was and realizing and just kind of growing. I was just taking the stuff I already learned and just washing and repeating versus really growing and being that example of what growth is off the court. And so I took offense to it at first, but then I really evaluated and looked at it and just dove completely into growing and being a better person and being and learning more and bringing all that to the table. And once I found my own voice and found who I was, I literally like grew as a coach. I was more in tune with my players. I was more aware of certain situations. I was more confident. Even when I made mistakes, I was humble enough to admit, I kind of
Yeah.
messed this up. And a lot of things kind of changed after that, to be honest. So that's what I would tell young coaches to really find your voice, find who you are, and keep working to become the better version of yourself every day, because the work never ends, especially with this game. The game's always changing. It's a never ending job of self-improvement.
I love that. And I think there's like a great aspect of humility with that too, right? Talking about and having a great friend kind of call you out and call you in, however you want to
Yeah.
say it. It's great. He held you accountable. He's like, because I think that's kind of a funny thing that we talk to all the time to players, right? Like y'all have to get better, right? Become better shooters,
Yeah.
become better finishers, right? And as coaches, maybe we're just being stagnant. We're just copying and emulating what other coaches are instead of doing our own work on ourselves. So I think that's really invaluable, because I also have been saying a saying that I heard is like, character is better caught than taught. So I'm guessing that the players that play for you, right, are recognizing, oh, Matt's growing. Matt's became a better coach from when we started at the beginning of this season to the end. So, like he's modeling that way, and whether it's subconscious or consciously that they're picking up, those are the seeds we're planting for the future.
Absolutely. I like that quote. Say that, repeat that quote again. Some things are better caught than taught. I
Yeah,
like that. That was a
character
bar.
is
That was
better
a bar.
caught than taught, right?
Yep.
It's almost it's another way of saying actions speak louder than words, just in a
Oh,
term of like what a teacher, coach, and mentor
yep. I
is.
get it. And it's funny because I always tell people, I go, kids, players I coach, they never do really what you tell them to do. They usually do what they see you doing.
Right.
So I'm serious. Like, and once they see you do the right things, then your voice really can connect, and you have that type of rapport. But it's always what they see. So if you're the type of coach that's late to practices, that's not accountable, that comes across as lazy, whatever, people they see that, and you won't be able to get that out of them. So that pretty much summarizes and epitomizes something I've been saying. So it's pretty dope.
Love that. Yeah, no, that's great. And exactly, right. They're emulating it. And I feel like being a coach is such an important job. And, like I want to kind of take the direction of coaching right now before we get into basketball and a dream, because I feel like
Okay.
it's such a great way to influence young people. And
Yeah.
so like, what are your thoughts? And I'm kind of going off the cuff here on the future of coaching. How can we get more coaches and great coaches involved? Because I feel like, here in LA City, right, there's not a lot of the great coaches get plucked on by private schools. And I just feel like there's not enough great coaches out there. How do you think we can start making coaching in an attractive field and continue to develop coaches so we can impact more young people?
It's tricky. Um,
Yeah.
because there's people who know how to win, and there's people who know how to coach. And the
Mm,
great coaches are a combination of both. So and now we live in a world where, like, every day I look on Twitter and a professional coach is getting bashed by people who don't even know basketball.
right.
you know?
Right.
And so I feel like coaching is going to get harder. I feel like the way players are programmed now, like if they don't like something, they just quit. So you don't really get the opportunity sometimes to really coach people, because the minute things go wrong, we live in things are mobile. Players are very mobile now, so they'll just, I don't like it here. I'm gonna go to this place and get what I
Right.
want.
Right.
We didn't have it when I was a kid. I didn't really have that option. It was, this is your coach. You got to deal with it.
Right.
Now, if the coach is doing something very shady or whatever, obviously the parents would change. Like, luckily for me, that's never really happened. But that's part of being a player. It's just going through and having to deal with authority. And right now, kids don't really, a lot of them, I'm not going to speak for every one of them, but a lot of them don't really want to deal with authority because they view themselves now as their own brand.
Mm,
And parents now, they want, what are you going to get? How are you going to help my kid get paid right now?
right.
Forget developing and mastering the skills to eventually become a pro. My kid is popular. He has a good social media brand, or
Mm,
he has a potential to be an influencer on the basketball court. How are you going to help him with NIL money? These are things that coaches have to deal with. And now you see a coach like Nick Saban retire, and he's like, I don't know if I can coach in this time. And
right.
so the landscape for coaching is gonna have to be more fraudulent and more of a salesperson than actual basketball coaches, because that's the trend. That's where things are headed. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be a lot tougher to be a coach. And
Yeah,
I didn't
it
want
is.
to. I didn't want to be a coach when coaching was cool. Right now, coaching's not too cool. Seriously.
Yeah, no, those are really interesting points, and it's happening at the high school level, right? You talk about Nick Saban happening at Alabama, right? It's happened
Yeah.
here in Los Angeles. I'm sure it's happening in almost every single city. Even I think it's happening in my small little hometown of Humboldt County, right? Someone going from Arcata to McKinleyville. So I think
Yeah.
it's just. What do you think some of the conversations we need to be having with athletes and parents are? And I think. I think it is good to a certain extent that players have control and power, but it's almost, swinging, if there's a pendulum swinging too far to the right or left, however you want to say it.
Uh, you got to teach them the value of the long game.
Mm,
You have to. So it's like a lot of people, they're selling. I'm not gonna say selling their souls, but selling their career short for short-term success, short-term praise, short-term adulation, short-term money. And what I really preach and what I really want people to know is you become great at something, really great at something, it's going to work out. But become great first, become great first, and it's going to be tough to get that message across when people are now. You got some kids literally getting paid like a half a million on NIL deals, and literally like that's happening, and it's not something that's happening often, but it's happening enough for kids who want that to see that and try to go that route, before they're really ready. So, and I think it's dealing with the parents more so than the kids, to be honest, because that's what drives a lot of it, and that's who's in position to make the decision still. So it's really getting that message across to the parents more so than just the kids, because some of these parents are, I mean, they want it more than the kids, to be honest.
Right.
And that's an issue.
Yeah. So number one, it's got to be, what does your kid really want from this? Does he just want to have fun? Does he just want to have a nice high school career, or is he really serious? He does want to play collegiate basketball. He does want an NIL scholarship. And I think, kind of what you're talking about is people want the prize without doing any of the work. I think up here, I read Nick Nurse's book, the head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers, and he coached in Europe for, I can't remember how many years, but a ton of years. He put in a lot of times. He ended up being like the GM and the co-owner of some of the organizations he coached for. And he talks about, and one of the things that I think is going to stick with me is, some of the things that maybe, young coaches like myself and yourself, like not necessarily us in particular, but that we want to just get to the next job, but we have to prepare for that next job. We have to be great at coaching. I have to be great at coaching at the freshman level before I can go up and go coach JV, and then JV to varsity and kind of thereon, right? I can't just skip to straight being a collegiate coach. I have to understand. I have to, really do the work and put in the work to become great, like your point is, and play that long game, because the long game is so crucial.
Yep, that I agree. Definitely agree. But go ahead.
No, you go.
I was gonna say, don't sell yourself short. I know some coaches that are coaching youth basketball for volunteering and know more and have a better feel of the game than some people that have, varsity head coaching jobs and all that stuff. Having that job title doesn't mean you're ready for the job. It's the humility. It's the humility and awareness that comes with coaching that makes you qualified to be a coach. Because at the end of the day, no one's going to know everything about basketball, and no one's going to specialize in everything. Coaching, it's important to have a good coaching team. So I would say if you're a great leader, you're pretty much qualified to be a head varsity basketball coach, because a great leader would know his strengths and know his weaknesses and would kind of build a staff around that. So
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, that's a great point, right? You have to be able to lead, and it takes a group, right? It takes a group of coaches, just like it takes a group of players to become a great team. And, one of the things I really love about that and your mission, and I want you to kind of turn the page on this and maybe enter the next quarter of our podcast, is talking about basketball and a dream, because I feel like the organization is very long-term focused. And, so for those that are listening, can you share the story of why you started basketball and a dream?
I was doing a workout. This was summer 2022. So I was doing a workout with a college player that wanted some film for college coaches and also some pro scouts. This was at Memorial Park. It was actually a pretty empty gym at the time, which is rare. We did a 1 hour workout, which a lot of it was being recorded. And at the end of the workout, a kid that's in the gym that I noticed is always in the gym asked to use a basketball. So I was getting ready to leave because I had another workout to get to. I just gave him a ball. And he was so grateful, and his reaction to it, made me think later when I got home, how many kids don't have things they need to honestly, wholeheartedly pursue a career in basketball, Like me, I consider myself lucky, blessed and highly favored, because I always had what I needed. Whether it was my parents making sure I had it, a coach looking out for me, whatever reason, the man upstairs always provided things I needed. But that's not necessarily the case for a lot of people. You know, working within the lab, you see certain things, and there's parts of the world where people have to walk 2 miles just to get water. You know, and there's a lot of things resourcefully that people don't have and people need. So I'm really passionate about the game. I'm really passionate about my journey and how things turned out for me. So the wheel started turning, and I'm like, why not start an organization that helps kids get have the resources, whether it's financial support, getting training equipment, plug them in with the right coaches, all of the above, and just really be a foundational, resourceful piece for people that need things, and kind of like bring the community to people that need it, if that makes sense.
100%. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And so with that, you know, you talking about kind of the spark, right? The spark for what really made you want to do it, and that's where I think we connected, because I have very similar
Mm-hmm.
motivations for why I coach and why I built BTG Basketball and the Bridging Impact podcast, is to give back. And I recognized that I had the resources and tools to become and reach my potential, right? My potential, obviously, basketball wise, wasn't to play collegiate or professional basketball. It was to become a coach to continue to give back. And so with that, you know, and I'm very grateful I got to go to the University of Oregon and so on, and some of these things that are beyond the game.
Yeah.
With that, basketball can drive us very far, right? I think sports, whether you end up playing collegiately or professionally, or you learn and take the life lessons like we're talking about, and you apply them to when you go to college and when you get a job. Can you talk about some of the work that you all have done through Basketball and the Dream, the money you've raised, the shoes you've given, and, you know, just the impact that you've had?
So we've been going on now for a little bit over a year, so about a year and 3 months officially this month. Yeah, about a year and 3 months. We've already given over $75,000 worth of scholarships.
Nice.
We've already donated just this winter over 1,000 pair of shoes given away, over 1,000 clothes just this winter, and it's been great. It's a different level of commitment, and you got to be all in on giving when you do a nonprofit organization, because you're not going to get support if people don't view you as someone that's really into it like that, and you don't have a charitable heart. So I'm still getting better at it, because like I said, being a president of a nonprofit organization, I'm still pretty new to this, but it's been a great experience doing events, paying for kids, media coverage, being able to take certain kids to basketball games who've never experienced it, be able to take their families to games and have them have that moment. Just the overall impact the foundation has had. I'm really proud of it so far. And no matter what you do, how much you do, you always feel like you could do more, and that's something that I'm struggling with now. Like I said, this winter I got a huge storage unit that was filled with shoes and clothes and stuff donated in, and facilitating how to get this to places that need it and the people that would appreciate it was a tough challenge. It took a lot of time. Even now, I believe I have probably 100 something shoes still left over that I need to give away from the 1,000 I already gave away. So it's a lot of work, but it's when you're making a difference to some people, it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, we'll have to talk off air about some of those shoes. I'm sure some of my athletes would love them, but that's amazing. I think it's really amazing that how much you all have given and want to continue to give. Right? It's almost, I feel like there's a sense of purpose, right, that we get from it, and we get this, kind of feeling, and we want to keep that momentum going, because we can really, when you start getting into kind of the nonprofit and giving back, you just recognize how many, you start helping a couple people, and then you recognize, oh, I can help a couple more. And
Yep.
so I think just one of my favorite kind of stories is, a lot of times I think sometimes people can look at the news and it can be very challenging, and there's a lot of different challenge or issues going on in the world. And there's the starfish story where a woman goes to the beach and there's a ton of starfish, and if they, if the starfish end up out on the sand, and the water doesn't wash up on them, they end up, kind of drying up and dying. So there's like hundreds of starfish littered across the beach, and the woman was just throwing one starfish at a time back into the ocean, and someone came up and asked and was like, hey, like, why are you doing this? You're just wasting your time. There's no way you have enough time to throw all these starfish back into the ocean. And the woman responded and was like, well, I may not be able to get every single one, but at least I helped one, right? At least I helped two in throwing
Yeah.
back. And so that's such a great story, and that's just something that I think about with what you're doing. And I'd love to hear kind of some of your thoughts and plans for the future as you continue to want to impact more athletes.
Yeah. So right now, what I'm doing is I just want to get to know more leaders in the youth community, such as yourself. And so what I want to do is I want to build a network of leaders that, as we outreach and we reach more and more people, we can provide kind of safe havens for kids. So, for example, if a kid wanted to play for you, but didn't necessarily have the funds to do so, we would like to step in and help make that possible, help make that happen. Because obviously, every program has a number of scholarships that it can provide or it can afford to provide. And if
Right.
you could expand that reach, so instead of you having 2 scholarship players, you know what? Let me pick up the tab for 2 more players, so
Right.
they could so they could have that and see how that changes their life. And that's what I want, because I don't want to be an organization that gives away a bunch of crap and feels like it's making a difference. I want to make sure people are getting connected, make sure the kids, are connected with the role model that they can look up to, someone that's in their corner, someone that's going to make a difference in their life, and always kind of do a solid and look out in any areas that they need help with, whether it's extra time in the gym for workouts, whether it's, man, coaches have done so much for me. It's like, I just have to thank God for having those type of people in my life, because if they didn't do the things they've done for me, like I said, things would be completely different for me. So if I could make sure someone has the person that they're missing, I think that's the biggest impact the foundation can have on people.
That's huge. Yeah, and I think it's really recognizing that it just sounds like it comes from such a place of gratitude and appreciation for what you've had, and a genuine want of, give back. I think it's just so crucial to have people in our corner. And I think it's also, a great leadership quality of yourself to recognize that I can't just give them a bunch of shoes and that's going to help their basketball journey. It's about, like, I'm sure you would love to serve as many kids as you can, but right, you want to help the kids that are, in Inglewood or in downtown LA or like in Burbank that you may not be able to come and serve them and have an in-person basketball session. But hey, I make a connection with the coach over there, right? I know that they're getting great quality coaching and I can help them out with a scholarship or two. I think that's just how it ends up, kind of being. I think creating, as you talked about, right? We as coaches need to kind of continue to come together, the ones who are really caring and want to give back. And the more we can kind of collaborate, right, the more we're going to be able to make an impact on these kids' lives.
Definitely.
I love that. So with that being said, and as we kind of enter in the last couple of minutes of the fourth quarter of our podcast, what do you hope, kind of the impact, the ripple effect will be from Pacific Hoops, Basketball and a Dream, and some of your other endeavors?
Just building young men, building their self-esteem, teaching them things that's going to help them become great leaders and a star in their own role in life. I tell everyone this. I go, in your life, you are the leading role character. You are the star of your life. You are the most important person in your life. So instilling that confidence along with teaching the right things, when they grow older, it's going to have a huge impact, because you're going to have leaders who are made of the right stuff versus followers that are going down a path of destruction or a self-destructive path, because there's so many negative vices out there that are misleading these kids. that you just want to be a bright spot to help them find who they are, find what they're great at, and they live a life of purpose and intent versus just wandering and trying to figure things out and never feeling like they're good enough. And, like no matter what you do with your life, if you're the best version of yourself, no matter what job you have, you're going to make an impact. And so just getting that message across and building that up, I think it's going to have more of an effect than I could calculate or quantify, and that's what I want.
I love
You know,
that.
I,
Yeah, helping
yeah,
athletes just figure out who they are, right? How can I star in the role and where I'm at, right? Being on a team and recognizing what are my strengths, right?
it's
Simply on a basketball court, right? Maybe I'm a good 3-point shooter, right? Maybe I
it's a
get to the rim well.
it's the theory of space. The space in which you stand permits others to do the same. So you create that with someone, they're automatically going to inspire and help other people because they stay on that space. And that's generally what I want. A lot of people don't talk about this, but our youth is in a bad state with mental health. That was kind of exposed during the pandemic. And that's something that I want to address. You got a lot of kids committing suicide, a lot of kids joining gangs. The violence. Every day I look on Twitter and it's kids fighting teachers in the classroom, kids fighting each other and recording it. And we just want to build leaders. That's it. Leaders that is going to make impact of wherever their feet are. And that's the overall goal of the foundation and where I see it going.
I love that. And that's exactly aligned with the Bridging Impact mission of transforming leaders on and off the court. So I really appreciate your time today, Matt. How can people find and connect with you if they want to continue this conversation or maybe support Basketball on a Dream?
They can go onto the website. They could check out the Instagram, Basketball on a Dream Instagram. They could check out my Instagram, NJ22 in the lab, which mainly I post stuff that I do for the foundation. Anything they can do to help or want to tap in, or if they have a kid that needs assistance or whatever, just reach out. A lot of the kids that got tickets to games, they just happened to reach out and they told me their story, and I verified it and was able to make certain things happen. So I'm definitely going to do a lot better job by this summer in terms of marketing it and doing more outreach, because I don't feel like I've really done a great job with that. I've just been doing a lot of work. And yeah, we're not going anywhere, so we'll be around.
I love it. Yeah, definitely reach out to Matt. Very approachable and always a great conversation with you today. So I appreciate you. We'll stay connected.
Appreciate the time, Justin.
For listening to this episode of the Bridging Impact Podcast. We'd love it if you would like, subscribe, leave a comment and a review on whatever platform you're on. It's the best way to help us grow. We appreciate you for doing that. We'll shout you out on social media. I'd also love if you connected with me on social media. Let me know your thoughts. And this is why I do it. I want to share knowledge and wisdom from experienced leaders to people like yourself and myself, so we can have this dialogue and move forward, make an impact on the world. So stay tuned, stay subscribed. Cheers.